Picture this. Your brother was killed 3 weeks ago. You know who did it. By every law your ancestors ever carved into wood and bone, you are required to make his family bleed. That is not a choice or revenge, that is the law. 30 days later, you are sitting at the same table as the man who ordered your brother's death. There is bread between you, and in front of every elder, witness and God your people swear by, you raise a cup to his name, not because you forgave him, but because the law, that same ancient iron law, gave you a way out, a way that did not just end the bloodshed, a way that forged something new from the wreckage of it, something neither of your families could have built alone. And tonight, we are going to find out exactly how that was possible. What we're about to unpack is one of the most misunderstood and most fascinating legal mechanisms in all of medieval history, and it starts as so many things in Germanic law do with blood. The infinite nightmare, the logic of the Faida. Before we can understand how the Germanic world ended a feud, we have to understand why the feud existed in the first place. In the Germanic niche of history, justice wasn't a concept handled by a distant government or a police force. Justice was a private obligation held by the Sippe, or the kinship group. This was the system of the Faida, the blood feud. It wasn't just a choice to seek revenge, it was a legal and sacred requirement. If your kinsman was harmed, your entire family's honor was stained until that debt was repaid in kind. The tragedy of the Faida was its mathematical certainty of destruction. If Clan A killed a man from Clan B was legally bound to retaliate. But that retaliation created a new debt for Clan A. This created a perpetual state of war that could last for decades, draining the resources of the tribe and leaving fields unplowed and children fatherless. In a world where survival was already a daily struggle against the elements, the Faida was a demographic death sentence. The Germanic people knew they needed a circuit breaker, a way to stop the bleeding without sacrificing their honor. The Great Pivot, the Friedensvertrag and the Sippenvertrag. The genius of Germanic law lay in its ability to provide a formal, legal exit ramp from the cycle of violence. This was achieved through the Friedensvertrag, a peace treaty, or more deeply, the Sippenvertrag, a kinship treaty. The goal wasn't just to stop the fighting, it was to create a new reality. The law allowed conflicting parties to formally create what was known as a kinship of blood. This was essentially an artificial alliance that carried the same weight as biological family ties. When two families entered into this pact, they weren't just signing a piece of parchment. Most couldn't read or write, after all. They were performing a total social transformation. The law recognized that the only way to truly stop an enemy from killing you was to make him a part of you. By shifting the legal status of the enemy from outsider to kin, the obligation for revenge was replaced by an obligation for protection. The currency of peace, Wergeld, and the ritual. The transformation centered on two core elements, the payment and the ceremony. The payment was the Wergeld, literally the man price. Every individual had a specific value based on their status and role in society. To settle a Faida, the perpetrator's family had to gather enough silver to buy back the peace. This was an immense economic burden that required the cooperation of the killer's entire extended family, ensuring that the whole community had a financial stake in maintaining the peace. However, money alone wasn't enough to heal a blood feud. The Germanic soul required ritual to make the transition real. The process culminated in a public ceremony where the two groups would eat together and share a ceremonial toast. This wasn't a casual meal, it was a high-stakes legal ritual. By consuming food and drink together, they were pledging that the old blood feud was dead and buried. They were formally swearing that the silver had eaten the injury. In that moment, the man price washed away the manslaying and a new friendship or Freundschaft was born. Before we dive into how these former enemies were legally bound to defend one another, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think a modern society could ever function with a man price system instead of a prison system? Would you prefer to pay for your mistakes with silver or with time? Tell us in the comments. Immediate transformation. The legal bond. The most startling aspect of this Germanic mechanism was how quickly the social landscape changed. Once the Wergeld was accepted and the toast was finished, the two former enemies were legally bound to defend one another as if they had shared the same cradle. This wasn't a cold peace where they simply ignored each other, it was a functional alliance. If a third party attacked your former enemy, you were now legally required to pick up your shield and fight alongside him. This swift resolution was essential for the survival of the Germanic tribes. Unlike modern legal systems that can drag on for years in courts, the Sippenvertrag was designed to be immediate. It prevented the long-term economic and human toll that a protracted conflict would cause. It turned two weakened, warring families into a single, unified, and much more powerful force. In the harsh landscape of early medieval Europe, being stronger together was the only way to survive the next winter or the next Viking raid. The philosophy of Frieden and Freundschaft. To the Germanic mind, peace, or Frieden and friendship, or Freundschaft, weren't just fluffy emotions, they were hard legal categories. Peace was a state of being where no legal debts of blood were owed. Friendship was a proactive contract of mutual aid. By bringing enemies into these categories, the law maintained order in a world without a central, strong government. There were no kings with enough power to police every forest and valley, so the law had to be something the people carried within themselves. This system relied on the understanding that honor was the highest currency. To break a Friedensvertrag after the ritual was performed was to become a needing, a person of total insignificance and shame who was cast out of society entirely. The fear of being an outlaw, a man without kin, was usually enough to make the transition from enemy to ally stick. The law didn't just punish the bad, it engineered the good by forcing cooperation through the lens of survival. Why this still matters. Now, I want to leave you with something to sit with. We look back at the Germanic peoples, and we often see what the popular imagination has handed us: warriors, raiders, rough-hewn men living by the sword and dying by it. And yes, that world was hard. But embedded inside that world was a legal and social intelligence that recognized something deeply human. That the cycle of retaliation, if left without a formal exit, destroys everyone. The pride alone, unchecked by law and ritual, is not strength, it is a slow suicide for the whole community. And the peace, real peace, is not the absence of conflict. It is an active construction. It requires ceremony, acknowledgement, and something to be built in the place of what was broken. The Faida system, at its most sophisticated, was not just a mechanism for ending fights, it was a technology for rebuilding trust, formalized, ritualized, and legally enforced. And that, when you strip away the centuries and the unfamiliar names, is something remarkably modern in its wisdom. The Germanic peoples did not have courthouses. But they understood, deep in their legal bones, that a society that can only destroy its enemies and never transform them will eventually run out of allies, and run out of itself. And that is the law that could turn enemies into allies overnight. If this video made you think, made you see the Germanic world a little differently, or if you just genuinely enjoyed going this deep, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you think this kind of formalized peace ritual was stronger than modern legal systems, or do you think it had weaknesses that would have made it unsustainable? If you want to keep exploring the deep traditions and the rugged lifestyle of our ancestors, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. We are here to bring the medieval world to life, one law and one legend at a time. And until next time, this is where the past comes back to life.